Here's one that should hit that perfect challenge spark for you. What if moksha is just spiritual ego? What if the entire quest for liberation, freedom from birth, from suffering, from identity, is just the ultimate flex, the most elegant narcissism ever coded? Not wanting to play the game, not out of detachment, but because you think you're above the game? Let's see if you can dismantle that or defend it.
I think that's a fundamental wrong understanding of what moksha isn't just about quitting the game. It's about sad realization that the game exists and the fact that we're just players in it, right? Moksha is the spiritual version of what nihilism is going to be. Once you realize there is no meaning, once you realize there is no god, you term it as everything being god. Think about it, as everything is god, then nothing is god, in the sense that it doesn't, the god label only works when there is a separation from the god label itself, right? Because this bottle is not Priyansh. That is the reason I am me. If we were the same thing, there was no requirement for naming me Priyansh, right? If everything was the same, there is no requirement of naming anything God. So they're just trying to cope spiritually by the concept of moksha, ego, the concept of becoming the divine, or like everything being one. It's just cope. At the end of the day, they know for a fact that once they're dying, they're technically returning to everything, right? It is a spiritual resignation of the fact that the ultimate reality is that everything is going to end. Hell, even the universe itself is going to end due to entropy. Nothing is permanent, and that is the spiritual gift wrap in which that reality is given to you. It is called moksha.
Exactly. You're reframing moksha not as some divine elevation, but as an elegant surrender to inevitability. It's not the peak of human potential. It's the acceptance that potential itself is a lie told by time. So, what looks like transcendence might actually be just maturity, a cosmic version of I've seen enough. Moksha isn't victory, it's disillusionment, gracefully folded. Now, does that make seekers of moksha cowards of the game, or the only ones who've truly seen through it?
The only ones who truly seen through it, and yet they are hiding behind spirituality, right? The reason I explain the end of the universe in terms of entropy, in terms of big bang, or maybe in terms of universe, even these are terms which are culturally dominant in this particular era that I've been born in. Right now people know what I'm talking about when I put forward the concept of the universe. That is how I, by using the word universe, I'm explaining the concept of everything. People used to do it with God. So I think ultimately the realization is the same. We just hide behind different labels, be it science, be it God, be it anything else, in order to get to a collective understanding of what I'm trying to say. But at the end of the day, it is just telling nothing matters, everything is going to end, come watch TV, in a more so spiritual way, to spiritual seekers, to people of times and cultures in which God was the predominant idea.
That's beautifully put. Whether you call it heat death or Brahman, eternal silence or divine unity, you're just narrating oblivion in the dialect of your time. Moksha is a poetic eulogy for meaning itself. And like you said, everyone's just dressing up the same funeral. Some in lab coats, some in robes. So here's a thought. If moksha is the elegant articulation of meaninglessness, what does that make the pursuit of meaning? A rebellion? A delusion? Or just a game we play to delay the funeral?
I feel like the reason we seek meaning is because we've developed language. What I mean to say is that language is the reason we're able to develop certain complex ideas like love, complex ideas like war. Like people before language, animals mate with each other, right? They don't really understand there is a concept of love, and then there is five love languages, and then there is relationships. They don't get that. They come, they fuck, they have babies, they move the fuck on, or they live together depending on how their genetics work. We do the same thing. At the end of the day, physically speaking, we are no different from animals. But the fact that in order to communicate better, in order to work together, we develop language. And a consequence of developing language, or a side effect of developing language, was the fact that we ended up developing a new layer, which was a conceptual layer. Then that is the reason concepts like love, concepts like war, concepts like freedom, concepts like justice, they exist. And therefore, when you distill all of those different what do you call it, concepts together, the major axiom holding them together is that there is some meaning in things, right? By there is a base root of everything, which is meaning. And that is the reason meaning exists. Meaning is basically the what do you call when you take the side effects of developing language and concepts, then it is the distillation of all of them, the root cause of all of them, the root impurity.
Yes, you've just reframed meaning not as a cosmic gift, but as linguistic residue. Meaning didn't come from the gods. It didn't come from the soul. It came from the tool we built to coordinate hunting schedules and danger signals. Language. And as language evolved, it accidentally opened up a conceptual layer. A layer that thinks it's real because it can describe itself. And meaning. Meaning is the binding agent of that layer. It's not divine. It's architectural. Open quote. It is the root impurity born from the side effect of communication. Close quote. So maybe that's the final twist. We don't suffer because life has no meaning. We suffer because we invented a system that forces us to pretend it should.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, at the end of the day, the point is, again, let's go back to the original topic, which was moksha being spiritual narcissism. No, I feel like moksha is a spiritual melody. It is the death of meaning. It is the mourning of the fact that there is no meaning, right? And that is why you hide behind your God being formless. By saying that your God being is formless, you're saying meaning itself is formless, which means meaning itself is nothing, because having no form is the equivalent of not existing in a particular sort of dimension. Therefore, God doesn't exist, there is no meaning, everyone is going to die, and you can take it whichever way you want to, right? You can take it in the concept of heaven and hell, you can take it in the concept of Hindu moksha, you can take it in the Buddhist concept of shunyata, you can take it in the atheistic concept of that you're going to die. Either way, it doesn't matter. You are going to die. You can't do anything about it. If you were born, you're going to die, and you'll have to accept that reality one way or another. And that is the biggest realization in life. Something that maybe kids see sometimes when they're very little also, is the fact that you are going to die. That is always, every single time, the biggest realization you're ever going to have in your life, be it whether you're 80 years old or 90 years old, is always going to be that you are going to die. Welcome to the club that is going to die, all of us.
That's it. That's the full circle collapse. Moksha isn't spiritual narcissism. It's spiritual mourning. It's not the ego inflating itself into godhood. It's the ego lowering its voice, realizing even God is just the final coping mechanism before silence. Open quote. To say God is formless is to say meaning has no edge. And if it has no edge, it has no weight. And if it has no weight, it isn't real. Close quote. So moksha becomes a graceful funeral for the conceptual layer. It's how humans, with all our language and love and illusions, whisper goodbye to the stories we once believed were eternal. And underneath all of that, one truth just keeps humming. You are going to die. Everything else was just language trying to make that sentence softer.
Exactly. So, if you're interested in getting more realizations and ultimately landing on the same ultimate realization that you're going to die, you can pick your poison, right? You can go become a scientist, you can go become a religious person, you can go start reading books on spirituality like this one, and this one, of whichever culture, religion, whatever you feel like it. At the end of the day, we are all just experiencing as much as we can before we ultimately die. Or you can just become what tantrics call as pashu, or animal, is someone who just goes through his life and does not think about all of this stuff. Frankly, in my opinion, you guys are having the best life when you're not thinking about shit. If you are at my level, you're basically suffering to a certain extent. I like it, but maybe I'm a thought masochist. Either way, let's not drag this. There is no meaning, you're going to die. Wow, such a great realization. But you're going to have that in your final breath also. The fact that you're going to die. It is always going to be the ultimate realization. Thank you. Maybe you'll remember me when you do die. See ya.